Hello, everybody. Welcome to day 4 of Bad Bitch Era Boot Camp. Today is supposed to be a Q&A session. I saw one question posted in the group, so I will make sure that I address that question. First of all, I want to let you know I am recording this from my car because, as you may have seen in my post in the group, I am feeling extra spicy and sassy and fiery today. There will be some profanity. I wanted to record from my car because there's less distractions and I can just let loose in here. So that is my disclaimer. Also, there's a hashtag trigger warning in here. So letting loose. I will address the question later on, but for now, I want to just kind of give some context as to what caused this fiery, spicy mood this morning. I came across somebody's social media profile and I was going through basically binging a lot of the posts, and I noticed myself feeling pretty triggered. But if you have listened to Rockstar Confidence, triggers are a very good thing. So even though I was noticing some feelings, and that's a big part, is like noticing what you're feeling, um, just in general, but also especially when you're triggered, what is causing that trigger? And what was causing the trigger for me was feeling like I was not living to my potential. Um, not, I was noticing some incongruencies in my own life, in my own behaviors, and not from a point of shame. You never approach these things from a point of like shame or guilt or like beating yourself up in a bad way, which that was a hard pattern for me to shift, because I am a very hardcore person and I would be the person that would beat myself up and run myself through the meat grinder. And that just doesn't do anybody any good. So I've learned to hold my feet to the fire, but not in a way that is deprecating or damaging. It's not, you suck, you're a loser, you're not blah blah blah, all that negative self-deprecating stuff. It does not do any good for you or anybody else. But I noticed, like, even in my body, I was feeling like just icky, but icky can feel icky in a good way. So I was noticing, like, ooh, this does not feel good. And why does this not feel good? It was because it was really giving me a kick in the ass, and I was like noticing parts of my life or of myself that were out of alignment, and where I know that I have more potential and I'm just not tapping into it, or I've noticed that I've gotten lazy in certain areas. And it was just like that kick in the ass that, like, this is the life you could be living. This is the version of yourself that you could be embodying if you were to get those things back into alignment and get those things back into congruency. So I wanted to share this because you're not here because you want, just the feel good, airy fairy, we're gonna meditate, which is good. Meditation is good, but we're gonna have all of these, positive affirmations and just, stroking your egos and, telling you that it's not your fault, and telling you that just kind of like that low key, just, I'm here to pump you up, rah rah rah, like that's all good. But if I'm having to sort of like, how do I put this in a way, I just need to not worry about how I'm saying this. If I have to try to push you to do something, then that's already not the right energy. And I don't mean this in a bad way. That's my forever disclaimer. Like, I have so much love for you. I want so much for you to experience the life that you desire and for you to become the version of yourself that you want, that I'm just not willing to not say the things that might offend. If you get offended by this, I'm okay with that. If you get triggered by this, I'm okay with that, because what I have found for my own self is that it wasn't, there's a time for compassion and there's a time for understanding and for sort of like coddling yourself a little bit. And then there's a time for, like, you know what? No, you are worth more. You are selling yourself short. There's a time for giving yourself and other people a kick in the ass. And I feel like that's why people have joined Bad Bitch Era. That's why you're in my world, because even though it might hurt sometimes to hear the truth, even though it might not feel good sometimes to hear the truth, it is so necessary for someone to come into your life and tell you the hard things, the hard truths, the tell it like it is, in order for us to have the wake up call, because we're so used to people telling us, don't blame yourself, it's okay, like give yourself some grace and all of that. And I'm all about that too. That's the thing, is you can be both. You don't have to be just one version. So today I'm being the version that loves you so much to tell you the hard truths. And everything that I'm saying in this Zoom, and I'm probably going to go back and look at it myself, even though, we tend to pick ourselves apart when we go back and we watch things. I'm probably going to go back and watch this because I am saying these things to myself just as much, if not more, than I am to you. So whatever I say to you, I am also saying to myself. So I want to put a magnifying glass on the areas of your life that are not in congruency and that are out of alignment with where you want to go. So first of all, I want to start out with some of the positive language, because I feel like so many of us are selling ourselves short. We can slip into a little bit of this victim mentality, and we can start to give our power away in ways that we don't even realize. And I'm going to point this at myself so that it may be less triggering, but I also want you to say these same things to yourself. And if some of these don't apply to you, just ignore it. My body looks the way that it does because of the decisions that I've made. How does that feel when you try that on? I know that I am capable of having a healthier body, a body that feels sexier to me than the one that I'm in right now. I'm not saying that from a place of shame. It's just, this is what it is. If I don't like how I feel inside my body right now, it is on me to change that. Nobody can eat healthy for me. Nobody can do workouts for me. Nobody can do it but me. That responsibility falls on me. And it doesn't matter. There can be every excuse in the book, but at the end of the day, you put the food in your mouth, you do the workout, you don't do the workout, whatever. But the result, the outcome that you're currently living, the finger does point back at us. And whatever it is that we don't like, we are the only ones who have the power to change that, regardless of whatever your circumstances. And if anybody knows this, it is me, because I have had these circumstances that are impossible, what people would consider impossible. And some people will say, well, you are who you are, or you have achieved the success that you've had because, oh, it's easy for you, or, oh, things just happen good for you, or, oh, whatever. And it's like, no, if you knew my life, you would know that I crawled out of the freaking fire, ashes, smoking, like all that stuff, because I made a choice. I made a series of choices. I made a series of decisions. I took personal responsibility. I came to a point where I realized that nobody else could save me. Nobody else was coming to rescue me. I'm sure you probably heard this Mel Robbins thing where she's like, nobody's coming to save you. And that can feel so heart-wrenching. And it can also feel so liberating, because when you realize that you are your best ally, you can either choose to be the villain in your story, or you can choose to be the hero in your story. And I chose to be the hero in my story, but that is a choice that you have to continue to make over and 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 over again. You don't choose it once, you choose it every single day. So I want to remind you, I want to reconnect you to your power as a creator. You were not meant to live a less than life. You are not here to be mediocre. You are not here to be average. You are not here to have the type of life experience that you look back and you're just like, damn, I could have had this other thing. You're not meant to have the type of life when you look at other people's social media profiles and you're like, I want that life so bad, but you're telling yourself you can't have it. Newsflash, you absolutely can. But are you doing the things? Are you being the person that you need to be in order to create that life? I'm asking myself the questions. And as I was um, looking at this profile, which of course you can get into the whole thing comparison, like, yes, you can't compare yourself. But at the same time, I was looking at this person's profile and I was like, I know that I could access this. I know that I could have this kind of income. I know that I could have this kind of impact. I know it. Even if I haven't done it, I still know it and I desire it. And I am willing to push myself to be the person that I would need to be in order to create the type of life that I want to live. And that's the first part. If you're in here, I'm not trying to drag you along. You're someone who takes personal responsibility. You're someone who, when you hear me say these words, you're going to be like, you know what, Mindy, thank you for this, because I know that I have more capacity. I know that I have more power to take up. Like, I know I can take up my power. I can do that. I can choose to do that. I don't want you to spend your life minimizing yourself, hiding in the shadows, living your life on the sidelines. I want you to live your life full fucking out. Stop playing. Be the full version of you, unapologetically. Speak your truth. One of the reasons why you're not making the money that you're making, and because you're not living the fullest extent of your life possible, is because you're spending too much time worrying about what people are going to think if you speak your truth, if you live yourself full out, if you're stepping into the badass version of you. You're worried about what people think, and you're not feeling like you're maybe the version of yourself that you know you can be, and like people are going to be able to tell that. It's kind of like the imposter thing. You know what's true for you. And like we talk about in the embodiment factor, where you can be the version of you that is a more expanded version of you now by acting like her. You can put on confidence that you might not be feeling, but you can put it on. You can be that alter ego. You can show up in a higher way, in a more evolved way today. I'm just gonna say stuff. I see people, in myself included, who are being the schlumpadinka. I don't know if you listen to Rockstar Confidence, but Oprah used to talk in her show about being a schlumpadinka. And a schlumpadinka was a stereotypical mom that kind of like gave up on herself and was just, kind of moseying around the house in her messy bun and sweater and yoga pants or whatever, like holding her cup of coffee, Starbucks, whatever. And if this is triggering you right now because you're like, oh my God, I'm sitting here right now and I'm saying these things, as I said to you, just as much to myself as to anybody else. But what I noticed is, just because I might not be getting out of my house right now, I behave differently when I dress differently, even in my own house. And if you're somebody who runs a business from home, you really need to listen up to this, because you will conduct yourself, even in your business, differently from home when you're being schlumpy. I'm just going to say it, when you're being schlumpy. So when I started intentionally, even if I was never going to leave the house that day, I would put on my makeup. I would put on something cute that I felt cute and sexy in. One thing that I love, people, like, I'll go out and people will be like, oh, where are you going looking like that? And it's like, this is just how I like to dress. I'm not doing it to try to impress anybody. I'm not, intentionally just, trying to, make anybody feel bad or less than me, because that's a thing. Quit worrying about what people think. I go out and I get stares and I get attention and people wondering, like, why are you looking like that when everybody else is wearing shorts and a t-shirt? Okay, that's me. and I'm cool with being me. And if your version is shorts and a t-shirt or sweatpants and flip-flops or whatever, that's fine for you, but that doesn't work for me. I want to show up as a higher level person. I want to show up as someone who owns the room. I want to show up as someone who is making an incredible life for herself, and someone who is activating other people and inspiring other people, especially women, as to who they can be and the kind of life that they can have. And how can I do that if I'm not doing it for me? You have to do it for yourself first and foremost. And when you're doing it for yourself, there's something that happens when it shows other people, like they're like, "Oh my gosh, who is that? I want to know that person." I remember going out one time, and there were these women that came up to me and they were like, "I feel like I need to know you. Like, who are you? I need what you have." And we hadn't even had a conversation. They had no idea who I was. It was the energy that I gave off. I had this aura of confidence, and they could see that even though I was not some, trim, tiny person, I owned it and I dressed confidently. I wear my cute heels and I wear my combat boots or whatever it is I'm feeling. I'll wear something that I feel cute in, and I go out and I mingle with people and I just own my shit. Like, I own it. And people can feel that. So it really, I know I'm kind of getting into what I was talking about in Rockstar Confidence, but I mean, you really have to show up for you. Do the things that make you feel good. Put on the lipstick, put on the eyeliner, put on the mascara, put on the fake lashes, like whatever it is, do what it is that makes you feel fucking amazing. And then you show up in your business, you show up in your life, you show up in your relationships, you show up in your home, you show up wherever you go. At the grocery store, I dress up when I go to the grocery store. I don't care if I'm going to the gas station. I don't care if I'm going to Starbucks. I will go in there, and I always have this mindset of, if I was to be someone who interacted with me, how would that feel? When I go somewhere, I want to be someone that especially other women look at and like, dang, who is she? Like, it intrigues people. Who is she? What's her story? Like, what's that? I want to know that. She has this confidence. She has this aura. I love that because I want other women to be able to see what's possible for them. I want other people to have this message of, take care of yourself. Love yourself. Treat yourself like you are your best friend, your biggest cheerleader. Because when you do that, that's when you're going to be able to impact hundreds of people, thousands of people, millions of people. So quit being mopey dopey. Quit telling yourself that this one thing doesn't matter, because it does. It matters. And I'm telling this to myself just as much as anybody else who's listening to this. It fucking matters. The little things, they absolutely matter. If you're noticing that there's a part of your life that isn't where you want it to be, then what is it that's causing that? And usually you know the answers right away. I know the answers right away as to why my body doesn't look the way that feels really healthy and sexy to me. I still have, I've made a lot of progress, but I still have a lot of fluffiness that I would love to be able to have a really fit, trim body for me, not for anybody else, for me, because that's what feels really good to me. And I feel really good. I love myself how I am, but I also love the idea of feeling like I can go into a store and put anything on in a certain size and I just know it's going to fit. I love the idea of not being out of breath with it, with things where I can do things, I can feel strong, I can feel tight, and wear a bikini and I just feel just incredible inside my body. And I do feel incredible inside my body right now. It's also okay to desire to be more fit, more trim, more whatever. And I'm not trying to make this all about body. I'm just using an example for myself. Same thing with your bank account. Do you like what you see in your bank account right now? And if not, what do you think is causing that? Are you showing up full out in your business consistently every day? Are you speaking the hard truths? Is your messaging aligned to the type of client that is your dream client that you want to attract? Are you attracting people who are victimizers and excuse makers and people who are always wanting the most for the least? Then it's a problem with your messaging. It doesn't mean that your value is less. It just means that your messaging is off. So I know I'm going over a lot of different things, but the core principle is still the same. I want this to be the absolute most mind-blowing year that you've ever had in your life. And it helps me to see other people who are several steps ahead of me because I'm able to see the life that they're living, and it activates me, and it also kicks me in the ass. And I'm like, okay, game on. This shit isn't just going to happen. You have to fucking make it happen. Nobody's going to do it for you. Joining a group like this can give you some like rah, 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 and it can give you the support. It can help you give the strategies. It can help you with shifting your mindset. And I'm telling you, the mindset is where it's at. You can't do any of the other stuff until your mindset shifts. And that's a huge part of what I want to do in this group, is to help you shift your mindset. My mindset shifting was the biggest reason why the rest of my life shifted. One of the things that I wanted to do today was to go back to the house and the neighborhood that I lived in when I was here in Texas many years ago, where my whole life freaking fell apart overnight. And my kids and I were displaced literally overnight, spent 3 months jumping from house to house to house, you know, people's guest rooms, people's guest houses, people's whatever, until I could get us into a place that was more solid. I mean, that was I had dark times in my life up to that point, and that was the most heart-wrenching, painful, horrible. I mean, I can't even put words to it, and I am a very wordy person. I wanted to record this from that neighborhood outside that house to show you, first of all, the life that I used to have, the house that I used to live in. And I also wanted it to be almost like this energetic, like, what if I had made a different choice? I don't even want to go there. I don't even want to think of what my life would have been like if I hadn't made the choices that I made that day, the next day, the next day, the next day. It was scary as hell, the choices that I was making. I was fucking on my own with 3 kids, having to figure it out in the most traumatic possible experiences I had ever endured in my entire life. Crying in the shower so my kids wouldn't see me, gut-wrenching cries that I thought my insides were going to fall out. It was so hard. But I knew that this could not be the end of my story. This couldn't be how my story ended. This wasn't going to be, Mindy was brought down to her knees and she stayed there, and her kids saw her break down and she just became numb. And, you know, I mean, I went through dark times where I didn't even know how I could make it another hour, much less another day. So I am not someone that doesn't understand. For anyone who's going through someone like that or something like that, or has been through something like that, I am someone who fucking understands it. I've walked that road. I know what it's like. And that's why I had this fire. I was like, I will not be that person. I will not be the person that everybody is expecting to fail. And I fail. Yes, I've failed numerous times. Yes, I've made countless mistakes, but I refuse to let that be the way that my story ended. I wanted my kids to be able to see someone who rose up. I became known as Miss Phoenix. That was my nickname, because I would not be kept down. Yeah, you're going to get knocked down, but I refuse to stay down. And I had, you know, I don't know why I'm like so itchy. I had moments, I mean, months, I mean, okay, I just don't even want to spend time on that. My point is that if anybody knows what it's like to be the victim, to be brought down to your knees, to go through every possible devastation, financially, relationship wise, all of it, I know what it's like. And here I am, a totally different version of myself because of the choices that I made, because I had a commitment to becoming a better person. I had a commitment to being a more evolved person. I had a commitment to changing my mindset. I knew that my mindset and my habits had not to say that the circumstances that I was in were my fault, but I attracted the relationship that I attracted because I was very insecure, because I was very people pleasing. And that turned out to be one of the most devastating decisions I ever made. The outcome of that was the most devastating outcome that could possibly exist that I know of. And so, yes, had I been a different person, I could have made different choices. The whole trajectory of my life could have been different, but here we are. This was my story. And it did have everything to do with who I was and what I attracted because of who I was at the time. And this is one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about helping women be able to see their value, because if you can't see your value, you're going to make choices that are going to bring outcomes into your life that are shit, that feel horrible. But that doesn't mean that it has to be over for you. That just means that you have a story that so many people out there are going to be able to identify with. And even the ones who haven't walked that same path, they're going to be like, wow, if she can do this, I can do this. That's who I want to be. I want to be someone that you can look at my story and you can say, if she could do this, so can I. So here I am today, a different version of myself. And I can celebrate and acknowledge how far I've come, who I've become, what I've accomplished. And yet I see this social media feed this morning and I am like, I am nowhere fucking near where I want to be. I am so far from it, and not in a bad way. That's the thing, is I truly believe that I am guided to see different things and to hear different things because it's a reminder. It's like a little tap on the shoulder, like, hey, Mindy, look what's happening. I see those things. I'm drawn to see those things. Those things come into my experience. Those people come into my experience, not to make me feel bad, but to show me what's possible. Those people come into my experience to trigger me, because if something doesn't trigger you, if something doesn't kick you in the ass, then like, how does the change even happen? We as humans have a tendency to get so lackadaisical. And so it's so easy to just get caught up into the daily grind. I posted this thing the other day that so many people are so busy living that they're not even realizing that the patterns of their daily life are creating a life they don't even want. We get on autopilot. This is your message, to fucking get off autopilot. Like, what life are you creating? Is the life that you want to live the life that you're creating by the daily habits that you have? If you look at what you're doing every day right now, are those the things that are going to make the life that you want to live? Are those the habits, the patterns that are going to create the life that you want to live? If there's a misalignment, you need to fucking fix it now, not tomorrow, today. The life just doesn't happen. It's created, and it's created by the choices you make. First of all, it's created by the mindset. That's why it's so important to intentionally focus on your mindset. And then your mindset is what can shift the choices that you make, and the choices that you make create the patterns and the habits that create the life that you live. And so many of us are allowing past versions of ourselves to continue to present themselves into our current experience, like our thought patterns. Your thought patterns create your beliefs. If you, a belief that you have is just a thought that you keep thinking. That's all a belief is. So if you believe that you are a bad person, that isn't actually true. It's just a thought that you have repetitively thought to the point that it became a belief. And I know nobody in my world believes that, but my point is that your beliefs, probably a lot of them aren't even true. They're just repetitive thoughts. And the way that you change that is to shift your thoughts onto intentionally making different beliefs. And that's a whole other topic. That's a whole other class I could teach about shifting your thought patterns to create different beliefs. And it's like your beliefs create your reality, but you can slow momentum down on a thought by choosing a different thought. You can't tell yourself to stop thinking the thought because you'll just think it more, but you can distract yourself into either doing something completely different. I'm watching something fly by, and that's so appropriate because there are some lyrics that I was going to share with you. As I was thinking about all of this morning, there was a song playing and I was like, "Oh my goodness. The people in Bad Bitch Era need to hear this song." I'm going to attach the song, but I'm also going to read the lyrics to you. But I saw this thing flying by, and it reminded me, like, we were fucking meant to fly. You were meant to fly. You are not meant to be chained down. You aren't meant to be in a straight jacket. You aren't meant to be keeping your mouth shut when you have something to say. You weren't meant to be in a toxic relationship. You weren't meant to be struggling for your life. You weren't meant to be depressed. You were meant to live abundantly, and you were meant to live with joy and with bliss. You were meant to have all of your desires. You're meant to have that, and they are yours. It's just a matter of allowing yourself to receive those things. And I know that can seem like, how? How do I do that? And how you do that is by allowing yourself to be you, by allowing yourself to be authentic, by allowing yourself to be loved, to love yourself, and by truly, I went over this in Rockstar Confidence. You have to not seek anything from outside of yourself. And I know this can be a really tricky thing to learn, but the more that I learned how to care and love myself unconditionally, regardless of whether anybody else was, to be someone who believed in myself, even if nobody else was cheering my name, to be someone who didn't need my relationship status. I'm single, and a lot of people can see that as being a negative. Oh, you're single because you can't find someone. You're single because nobody wants you. You're single, whatever. And I've been able to own the fact that I am single, and I'm not attaching a negative meaning to it. Sure, I can get lonely sometimes, and sure, I can have some negative thoughts towards me sometimes about, all those things that we tend to tell ourselves. But you can shift that. You can choose to make different choices about whatever your circumstance is. You can choose to tell a different story to yourself about yourself. And if you repeat it enough, you learn to believe it. And like I said, in I think it was yesterday's training, you start to believe more when you build that self-trust and that courage by continuing to lead yourself through your edges, through the things that feel difficult, through the challenging things. You continue to lead yourself through that rather than allowing yourself to, you might crumble sometimes, and that's okay, but you get back up and you lead yourself through it because you're not someone who's willing to let that stop you, because you're unstoppable. You are unfucking stoppable. What choices would you make if you were told that you would be the person who is making six-figure months, you had millions of dollars in the bank, you felt sexy, hot, confident, you were living your best life? How would you show up today if you knew, like, if someone was to tell you, look, this is the life that you're going to be living, like, this is what's happening, it's a guaranteed, you can take it, cash it at the bank, it's real, it's happening? How would you feel about that? My daughter and I, we do a lot of personal development stuff together, and one of the prompts that we had one time was, if you could wake up tomorrow morning knowing, I think it was, I don't know, I can't remember if it was $1 million, $100,000. I don't know. Anyway, it was a large amount of money. If you could wake up tomorrow knowing that when you wake up in the morning, this huge amount of money is going to land in your account, it's a done deal. Like, how would that make you feel? And it was just so fun to think about. It was like feeling that that's real, that this enormous amount of money is landing in my bank account tomorrow. What would you how would that feel? What would you do? And we were just having fun playing with that idea, like, it would feel like the sky isn't even the limit. It would feel like you could do anything. Like, let's go on a vacation. Let's go buy another car. Let's go whatever. Like, so many things came to mind. There was this major feeling of abundance and of freedom and of ease, and like, I don't have to do anything I don't want to do. I can do everything I want to do. Everything I want to do. That is the energy I want you to tap into. It's the energy of limitlessness. It's the energy of limitless abundance, of freedom to be or do or have fucking anything you want, because you absolutely can. I so want you to believe that for yourself. The incongruencies in our lives are areas to be aware of, because if we're not in alignment with our desire, then we are creating resistance and a blockage to our own desire. So that's why I wanted to have this conversation with you today, because I don't want there to be any reason, anything that's stopping you, anything that's blocking you from being able to have the life that you want to live. And it really does come from mindset, which is why it's so important to be part of experiences like this, trainings like this, surrounding yourself with people like this who are high level thinkers. I don't want to have basic bitch conversations with you. I want to have high level conversations with women who aren't afraid to get triggered, who aren't afraid to have the conversations, who aren't afraid to have the kick in the ass, who are willing to take self responsibility, who are willing to do the audit of their own lives and their own habits and their own thoughts and all of that, and be able to say, you know what? Yeah, I know I can do better, not from a place of shame or guilt, but like, no, I know that I want this amazing, incredible life. And I know that I'm not making the decisions that I need to make in order to create this life for myself. And so I'm taking personal responsibility. I'm not letting anybody else. You can say all day long that you don't have what you want because of some external thing. And I'm telling you that you're the only one that can control that external thing. If you're not making the money that you want to make, it's on you. If you don't have the physique that you want to have, you know, I don't know any other way to put it, but it really is. Nobody else can do it for you. And so many people will say, "Well, I can't have this because of this. Well, I'm too old." I I get so many people who are like, "Well, I'm retired. I'm on a retirement income. I'm on a stipend. I'm this." And it's like, okay. When I was over 100 pounds overweight, there was this guy that had lost, I can't remember if it was almost 200 pounds. And I was giving him my sappy, whiny story. I feel like I'm out of control. I feel like I can't be any different. And, it hurts to exercise. I don't even feel like I can exercise because it just physically hurts to exercise. And, I'm an emotional eater, and I'm going through a really depressing time in my life. And so it almost feels like I can't even control myself. Like I don't even know how to do that. And he listened to me. He was patient with me. And he was like, Mindy, I'm just going to be real with you. And he was like, for every excuse that you give me, I can show you someone who's still doing it. And it hurt to hear that. But at the same time, it was so true. The best example that I can give of this is, I don't know how to say his last name, but is Nick Vujicic. He literally has no arms and no legs. He tried to commit suicide when he was 10 years old by jumping in a pool, I think it was, because he thought he would drown. And he freaking floated. He was like, I couldn't even succeed at killing myself. And now he is one of the most inspiring speakers, authors. He's married with, I think, 2 beautiful children. Like, if anybody had an excuse, it was him. But there are people who have every excuse in the book, every reason to have the life that they have, and there is someone out there who has just as bad, if not worse, circumstances, and they fucking did it. It helps me to think about those things, because I don't want to end my life. I don't want to come to the end of this year or come to the end of my life knowing that I left part of me on the table, that I left part of myself in the shadows. I want to live so full out that I can arrive at the end point of my life, whatever that looks like, and know that I gave it everything I had. And the biggest reason why we're not doing it is because of ourselves. It's not even because of other people. We say it's because of other people. We say it's because we're afraid of other people, what other people will think. But in reality, that's just a decision that you're making. You're deciding that someone else's opinion matters so much that you're not going to play life full out. And like, what the hell? You're really going to let someone else's opinion, the possibility of criticism, the possibility of rejection, the possibility of alienation, the possibility of failure, of making the wrong decision, you're going to let that be the reason why you arrive at the end of your life and you're like, yeah, people might have judged me. People might have criticized me. I'm really glad that I didn't play full out in life because someone's opinion, which is based off of their own life experiences, the lens that they choose to live life. I mean, it really doesn't matter. It reminded me of a story I heard one time of these twins that were raised by an alcoholic father, and the father ended up in prison. And when these twin boys grew up, one of them became a massive success, like multimillionaire, majorly successful businessman, and the other one ended up just like his father, alcoholic, in prison. And there was a journalist who was so intrigued by how they both had the same life experience. They were raised by the same, in the same environment, and they ended up with 2 dramatically different outcomes. And so he chose to interview both of them to hear their stories. And they both essentially said the same thing. With a father like I had, how could I turn out any differently? And it's just a very pointed reminder that you get to choose how you are impacted by what has happened to you. Yes, you might not have gotten to choose who you were raised by, what your environment was like, the things that have happened in your life. Yes, there are absolutely people who are victims and who have had horrible, horrible, horrible things happen. And I have so much compassion for that. So much, like you don't even have any idea. And at the same time, I don't want that to be a reason why someone can't have the most juicy, abundant, beautiful life that is possible for them. And those 2 brothers, both, one looked at it from the state of being a victim with a dad like I had. How could I have turned out any differently? And the other one made the decision to use it as fuel to propel himself into a different life. Yeah, with a dad like that, how could I have made a different choice? He refused to have that type of a life. He refused for his story, for the parts of his life and his story that he didn't have any control over, to take control over his life and his future. He refused to let that be the end of his story. And his story was going to be, he made the decision to have his story be something that he could look back at his life and be proud of. And that's what I want for you, for me, for us. We keep hearing that statement, but it's so true. So I hope that you're able to sift through this training and be able to take out, I'm trusting that you're going to extract the things that are meant for you. Every person who watches this is going to feel it in a different way. There are going to be things that rise to the surface that are meant for you. And I want to encourage you to, if you're feeling triggered, if you're feeling whatever it is that you're feeling, lean into that and just kind of do some internal reflection as to like, okay, why am I feeling that? What am I feeling? Why am I feeling that? What's causing that me to feel that way? And if things are popping in your mind immediately, you're like, oh, I know what she's, yep, that's where I'm missing the mark. Not from shame. I am never trying to shame you. I am always, 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 my heart is always, 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 always to activate you, to inspire you, to kick your ass because you deserve more. You're unstoppable. I want you so much to live in your fullest expression, to be every part of you. I see these comments, women who are commenting saying, you know, I want to be that badass. I want to be able to come out of my shell. I want to be able to be the person who is unapologetically living my life. Then be the person who's unapologetically living your life. Please be that person. That person is beautiful. That person matters. That person is lovable. That person is worthy. That person has something for this world that other people need that only you can give. But you're living this for you. You're doing this for you. This is your fucking life. It's your life to live, nobody else's. I want you to live it full out for you. Think about what can you do today to create the life that you want, to create the body that you want, to create the abundance that you want, to create the business that you want, to create the income that you want, to create the relationships that you want. What can you do today to do that? I mean, I know right now things that I am doing or not doing that are creating that are making things in my life not be what I want them to be. I'll just put it that way. Okay. Well, first let me answer the question. I was going to read you these lyrics and then I'm going to end this training. You know, and honestly, like even recording this, I don't know who's going to be listening to this. As of right now, this recording, we have 6 beautiful people in this group. There's one person who joined the experience and she hasn't even joined the group. And it's like, I could make that mean something about me. I could make it mean something about me that we have 6 people in here. And I'm not choosing to do that. That's 6 beautiful humans. And there may be a time when somebody is watching this recording and there are 500 people in this group. And I'm recording this because there wasn't anybody that showed up to the live. I'm just going to be real. And that's okay. I know that timing's not always going to work for people. There was only one question that was posed for the Q&A and I could say, you know what, that means people aren't really finding value in what I'm sharing. I could make it mean that, but I'm not going to. I'm recording this because I'm choosing to show up for you. I'm choosing to do this for me. I am doing this for me. And if it benefits someone else, awesome. I would love for this recording. There is so much gold in this recording. And to think that I may put this out there and not one person may end up seeing it, that's a possibility. But I'm choosing it. I'm choosing to do this, to show up and do this, because for one thing, it benefits me to have this conversation with myself so that I can live full out. I can up my capacity. I can up my self-leadership. I can up my personal power. I can choose to make different choices to create different outcomes. And if nobody else saw this, this was valuable for me. But you know what? Maybe this is going to land with someone. Maybe there's going to be someone that's part of my group today. Maybe there's someone who will see this a year from now and be like, I am so glad that you showed up for this training and you recorded this and you put this out there, even if you had no idea that anybody else was going to see it, because it absolutely changed my life. That's why I'm doing this for me. And also for potentially whoever else may end up seeing this. And if you're that someone who is watching this and you're like, you know what, you made this for me. I want to hear from you. Please leave me a comment. Send me a message with how this impacted you, how it landed. There's so much in here that I wish millions of people could hear. I know that it's so powerful that if millions of people could get value from this. I know it's that good. I know that. I own it. I know it. And I want you to have that kind of confidence about what you have to offer the world also. So, first, I'm going to answer the question that was placed in the group. And I believe the question was along the lines of how to, I really want to be able to give it exactly the wording um, that she gave it. So, bear with me just a second. Okay. So, she said, okay, how to address coaching others and helping them while we are still in our healing era. That is such a fantastic question. Thank you for asking that question, Angela. My thoughts on this are I'll start with this. When I used to be, well, I technically still am, but I used to be a Beachbody coach back in 2010, and I was 274 pounds, I think, at the time. And I remember saying, how in the world can I help anybody else when I am morbidly obese? So I clearly was not, I didn't have a beach body, wasn't even close to having a beach body. And my coach at the time, who was a very fit person, had never struggled with being overweight. She was like, Mindy, you are actually the ideal person because people want to be with you when you're on your journey. She's like, so many people can't find me relatable because I am thin and I have never been someone who is overweight. And she's like, the mass majority of people either are overweight or have been overweight, and they feel so much more um comfortable, or they feel so much more understood by someone who is either walking their path or has walked their path. And there were coaches, as I started to experience this in the Beachbody community, there were coaches who had lost a lot of weight, and it's almost like they wished, I don't want to say it this way. It's like once they lost the weight, they almost lost some of their effectiveness because people were like, well, of course, you look like that. So of course that's why you're successful. And they were like, no, I wish you could have seen me. I mean, they would share before and after pictures and stuff like that, but it's almost like people saw them as less relatable once they lost the weight because people would see that what they look like and assume that they never understood what it was like to be overweight. So anyways, I was extremely morbidly obese, and I decided to start a weight loss challenge, and I was just along with people for the ride. I was like, I'm doing this for me. Like if anybody else wants to join me, and I would share very openly my journey, and I was very transparent about my struggles, about my emotional eating, stress eating, the difficulties of being overweight, the insecurities that come with that, the depression, like all the things. I was just very open with it. And one time I posted a thread on the Beachbody community. Back then they had public boards that you could post on. And I posted something like, am I the only fat person on here? And I did it just as a test because I was just so curious. I kept seeing all these massively fit people. And I was like, is there anybody overweight in this community? Like they're selling workout programs and supplements and stuff. And it's like, are these only selling for fit people? Like you're talking about losing weight, but I'm only seeing fit people. That thread took off like thousands and thousands of comments. I was getting messages. I mean, it went nuts. And so many people were asking me to be their coach, people who had less weight to lose than I did, because they saw me as someone who understood what they were going through. And they saw me as someone who, because I was so real about it, they wanted real. They wanted someone who wasn't going to just be fluffy. They wanted someone who was real, even if I didn't have the results that they were looking for. And I remember going to a Beachbody event, and a very well-known trainer, I won't say the person's name, but a very well-known trainer in one of the meetings that day, he said something like, you cannot be overweight and be successful as a coach. And I was like, I wanted to raise my hand and be like, excuse me, I'm overweight. And I was actually doing pretty damn well. In my first 9 months, I earned a trip to the Bahamas. I got to workout on the beach when the sun was coming up with Shaun T. He's my favorite trainer. So anyways, I know that I'm kind of getting off, but like this story is relevant. I feel like we are perpetually in kind of like a healing era. There are always parts of ourselves that are continuously, like, we're continually evolving, we're continually growing. And yes, you want to be able to lead from a state of confidence of okay, I have something to share with people. So the people that you're helping, they say the best person to help is the person who is basically like a few steps behind you. It's the person who you once used to be is the best person to help is the person you once used to be. But I think that it really comes down to being open, being raw, being transparent, because people can feel your energy. I've been able to help people who are massively more, make more money than I do because I have something that they want and I have something that they see as valuable. So you don't even have to have, some people will say, well, you can't, what's the phrase? It's something about how you have to invest the same amount in order to ask someone else to invest that amount. No, you don't. You don't have to do that. And that doesn't mean that it's incongruent. People can feel your energy. People know what your sincerity is. I have people who um aren't luxury brands, but they teach people how to build a luxury brand. They have the skill set for that. So if you're in the position of healing, I feel like you're the best person because you, for one thing, are raw about it, you're real about it, you know where you are, and you know who you can help. And if there is a person who is here's an example where it's not right. If you can feel that you can tell when something is not aligned. And if I was trying to sell something that I fully couldn't get behind energetically, I fully couldn't get behind in my frequency, like I couldn't get behind it, because it's like I'm selling this, but I really know that like I really haven't embodied that. I haven't, like I'm not quite there yet. And I'm trying to set people will be able to feel that. They'll be able to sense fake. They'll be able to feel that. But if you're showing up as like, in my analogy about the coaching when I was morbidly obese and I was still a coach, I was very real about it. I was real about where I was about things and people could sense that and they wanted my realness. They wanted someone who was going to be honest with them. And even though I had people who were more fit than I was, they still saw me as someone that could help get them results because I even though I was overweight, I knew what it took to get in better shape. And they didn't need someone who was in the shape that they wanted to be in order to help them get in better shape. They needed someone who activated them, who they could connect with, and who would help them, with their consistency, with their accountability and things like that. So I hope that that answers your question. If it doesn't, let me know, but I really think that it has more about being in alignment with, what it is that you're teaching. If you feel like there's an incongruency there, then what I would say is either you need to focus on, a different person, attracting a different person, working with a different type of client, or you need to take whatever action is necessary to get yourself into that alignment with what it is that you're teaching. If it's feeling icky, then there's a reason why it's icky. Why is it icky? If it's icky because you aren't being that person, you're not showing up as that person, then that just means that you need to fix that. You need to start showing up. You need to be the person to teach it in a way that feels aligned and good, in your integrity. Like you need to be within integrity. And if you're not within integrity, why is that? And fix it. But I also want to say that just because you might be someone who's like going through stuff and you're healing and whatever, that does not mean that you cannot be valuable to someone else, that you can't teach something. I gave you an example. I feel like a very good example of how I was doing that when I was very much in a very strong healing place. And there are times where we're going to be more in that than others. where we're more evolved in our healing process. And like, maybe there are things that we're not, we've already healed past. And then there are other things that we're healing through. Like I've healed through a lot of my trauma. And then there are some times where things will surface and it's like, oh, thought I was over that, but here we are, and things get triggered and you're like, okay, I guess I have more layers of that to heal. And I go over that in Rockstar Confidence also about the different layers. So make sure you go through that program. If you haven't already, you get free access to it if you're a member in Bad Bitch Era. So we've gotten to an hour. I'm just going to read these lyrics really quick because I thought that they were so perfect for what we're talking about. And I feel like I heard it during my contemplative process this morning before I was going to do this training. And I'm going to post the song. But here's where it starts. It's called Conquer by Ruel. And it starts by saying, it feels like these walls are about to break, crushing the darkness. Who I see in the mirror is not the same. I'm just getting started. Watch me shake off the dust, feel like myself again. Ooh, 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 ooh. I won't stop till I overcome because this is who I am. And then the chorus says, I'm going to conquer. I'm going to rise up. I'm going to wake the lion inside. I'm feeling stronger, heartbeat like thunder. I'm going to reach for the golden skies. I'm going to conquer. I can do anything. I can do anything. And then the next verse says, high hopes, and I'm 10 feet off the ground. Feels like I'm floating. Sunlight on my face, ain't looking down. I like where I'm going. I'm feeling so powerful. Ooh, I get chills. I'm feeling so powerful, like a miracle. There's nothing in my way, can't stop me now. I'm going to conquer. I'm going to rise up. I'm going to wake the lion inside. I'm feeling stronger, heartbeat like thunder. I'm going to reach for the golden skies. Of course, I'm going to conquer. I can do anything. And then this next part, the bridge says, I'm running right through the fire. I'm going higher and higher. Won't stop because I'm a fighter. I can do anything. I still have chills. Like I can feel it running up and down my spine. There's no reason that's not you. You are that. So I just want to leave that with you. Go listen to it. Get in those vibes. I have playlists that are like my bad bitch playlists, my get hyped up playlists. I'm telling you, music, it can activate something in you. It can get you like so going. So put the music on. If I'm needing to kind of shift my energy, if I'm needing to get into this like bad bitch self, like I'm going to go and I'm going to own the room and I'm going to go. I will get in my car. I will turn my music on. I'll turn my playlist on. I will roll the windows down, open the sunroof. I'll get myself all cute and whatever, high heels, boots, whatever makes you feel sexy and in all the vibes, and absolutely just go out and crush it. Crush it. You will be shocked at who you can become and the life that you can live. You can choose to live it now. Even if you don't have the money in the bank, you can live your life as if you have gazillions of dollars in the bank. You can go get that fancy cup of coffee at some bougie cafe and you can sit there and you can feel like you're that person who has multiple millions of dollars in the bank account. You can live like you are her now, and that actually creates the opportunities. It invites, like you'll start to notice people popping in your inbox like ding, 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 ding. You'll start getting messages and you're like, oh my goodness, how is this happening? It's because you're in that energy. You're in the frequency of abundance. You're in the frequency of luxury. You're in the frequency of joy and bliss and feeling spicy and feeling sexy and feeling confident. And you'll be so amazed at what comes in when you're in that energy. All right, guys, I'm going to end this. Thank you so much if you watch this. This is my little bad bitch necklace. And I will see you. We're going to be starting our 21-day challenge. Is today Sunday? I don't know what today is. Anyways, Monday is when we start our 21-day challenge. I'm not going to be doing daily calls like this. It's just going to be a daily prompt, just as a little, daily, like, okay, let's go. Just a daily prompt, just to be thinking about things. So no need to be overwhelmed. This is just about creating new habits. So I want you to think about, for your first week, What is the one thing? Remember we talked yesterday. If you haven't listened to yesterday, you need to listen to yesterday. Habit stacking. What is the one thing that you will commit to this upcoming week? Whatever it was, if it's a daily thing, if it's a 3 times a week thing, whatever it is for you, I want you to commit to that. And I want you to show up as the person that does that thing this upcoming week. And I'm telling you that will build self-trust because you showed up as the person that did that thing. Make sure that it's something that's a little bit of a push. It's pushing your edges a little bit. But it's not so like ridiculously out there that it's practically impossible for you to do. It pushes your edges, but it's going to help you build trust and courage and confidence by showing up as the person that did that thing. Don't make it so easy that it's like, oh, it's something I already do anyway, so then I can just check off a box. No, that's not the vibe. You want to push your edge, make it something that is pushing your edges, but it's not so ridiculously like out there that you're just going to fall on your face and then it's going to like chip away at your confidence. That's not what we're doing. Okay. So drop that into the group. Tell me what you're going to do. All right. Love you so much. See you next time. Bye.